There is a name I have not said out loud in 3 years, but I have written it 1,000 times in the margin of books, on the back of receipts I have never threw away, in messages I drafted at 2 in the morning and deleted before the sun came up. If you know what I mean by that, if even one name just rose up in your chest while I was speaking, then this episode is for you. Hello, I am Anurag Paul, and this is Life Talks with Anurag Paul, the show where we sit with the things most of us only think about when no one else is watching. Today, there is no guest. It is just me and a story I have carried for a long time about a kind of love almost everyone has felt and almost no one talks about. This is going to be a quiet episode if you can find a quiet place to listen. There is a kind of love that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive with grand gestures or declaration. It doesn't show up in the songs people write or the movies people make. It lives somewhere quieter than that. In the way you remember exactly how someone takes their coffee. In the way your eyes find them in a crowded room before your mind has caught up. In the way you save a screenshot of something they said in passing because you knew even then that you would want to read it again later. This is the love that lives in the pause before you reply to their message. The love that makes you change your shirt twice before a meeting they will be in. The love that has you driving the longer route home because it passes their street. That is the part that is hard to explain to people who have not felt it. The completeness of a love that exists entirely inside one person. A love that has never been spoken and yet has shaped years of someone's life. I think most of us have loved someone this way at some point. A friend, a colleague, someone we met at the wrong time, someone we met at the right time but did not have the courage to recognize, someone whose presence in our life was so quiet we didn't even realize until much later how much of us was tilted toward them. The strangest thing about quiet love is that it can feel more real than the loud kind because it has nothing to perform. It doesn't need to be witnessed to exist. It just is sitting in the chest, patient, stubborn, familiar. If you have ever loved someone like this, if you are loving someone like this right now, I want you to know something. Before we go any further, you are not broken. You are not the only one. So why do we do this? Why do we love in silence when speaking might change everything? The easy answer is fear of rejection. And that is part of it. Nobody wants to hand their heart to someone only to have it returned. Nobody wants to ruin a friendship. Nobody wants to be the one who said it too much. But I think the real answer is deeper than that and harder to admit. We stay silent because the maybe feels safer than the no. As long as we do not speak, the possibility stays alive. As long as we do not ask, we do not have to hear an answer that would end the story we have been writing in our heads. Quiet love lets us keep the person. We get to keep imagining the future. We get to keep the version of them that lives in our mind. The one who maybe, just maybe, feels the same way. The moment we speak, we hand them the power to take all that away. So we stay quiet and we tell ourselves it is because we do not want to make things awkward, or because the timing is wrong, or because they are with someone else, or because we are with someone else, or because we are not ready, or because they are not ready. But underneath all of those reasons is one truer reason. We would rather live with the question than live with the answer. And here is the part nobody tells you. That kind of silence has a cost. It doesn't stay neutral. It doesn't stay just sit there politely waiting for you to be ready. It grows. It settles into your body. It becomes the shape of how you love everyone else who comes after. You start to confuse longing with love. You start to believe that real love must always hurt a little. You start to choose people who are slightly out of reach because that is the feeling you have learned to love. The silence doesn't protect you, it just postpones the pain and it charges interest. There comes a moment, for most of us who have loved this way, there comes a moment when the silence starts to cost more than speaking would. For me, it was a Tuesday evening. Nothing dramatic about it. I was making tea, the kind of mundane moment where life decides to ambush you, and I caught myself again composing a message in my head to someone I had been composing messages to in my head. for years. And I just stopped with the cup in my hand and I asked myself a question I had been avoiding. How much of my life am I going to spend speaking to people who cannot hear me? That was the turning point. Not a decision to confess, not a decision to chase, a decision to stop, a decision to turn around and look at the person I had been all this time, the one doing all this quite loving, the one who had been so generous to someone else and so withholding to himself. I sat with that question for almost a year, and out of that year slowly came a book. I wrote it in two voices. One voice belongs to the person who loved quietly, the other belongs to the person who was loved without knowing it, because I realized something while I was writing. Quiet love is never a story about one person, it is always a story about two, and both of them deserve to be heard. I called it I Loved You Quietly Until I Learned to Love Myself. The title is the whole arc. Three movements: the loving, the quietness, and the moment a person finally turns toward themselves. I will tell you more about it at the end, but I do not want to interrupt what we are doing here because the book is just the answer I found. The question is what matters. I want to say something about self love because I think we have lost the meaning of the phrase. Self love has become a wellness product. It has become candles and bubble baths and morning affirmations whispered into a mirror. It has become a Sunday activity, something you do for an hour and then put away. And listen, there is nothing wrong with candles, there is nothing wrong with taking care of yourself in those ways, but that is not what self love is. Self love is not soft. Self love is one of the hardest things a person ever does. Self love is choosing your own peace over someone else's approval, even when that approval is the thing you have wanted your whole life. Self love is stopping in the middle of a sentence you have said 100 times to make someone else comfortable and not finishing it. Self love is letting a message sit unanswered because answering it would mean abandoning yourself again. Self love is walking away from a person you still love because loving them has come to mean disappearing. Self love is not the bubble bath. Self love is the moment you stop making yourself smaller so someone else can stay comfortable in their idea of you. It is unlearning years of believing that the way you earn love is by needing less of it. And the hardest part, that part nobody tells you, is that when you start loving yourself, some of the people who love the smaller version of you will leave. They will not stay it that way. They will say you have changed. They will say you have become difficult. They will say they miss the old you. What they mean is they miss the version of you that was easier for them. Let them go. The people who are meant to be in your life will meet the new you and love her, love him, love this version, the one who finally took up the space you were always meant to take up. I want to close today with something I wrote. It is a short passage in the voice of the book, a letter of sorts to anyone who has loved quietly and to anyone who is starting finally to turn toward themselves. If you can, just listen. You do not have to do anything with it, just let it land. To the one who loved quietly. I know what it cost you. I know the years you spent rehearsing words you never said. I know the nights you went to sleep with a name you could not speak. I know how heavy a love becomes when it has nowhere to go. I know You thought your silence was a kindness, that you were protecting them, that you were protecting yourself, that you were keeping something beautiful safe by never touching it. But I want you to know something now. The love was real, even unspoken, even unreturned, even unwitnessed. The love was real. And you were real too. You were not just the one doing the loving, you are the one being loved by yourself all along. Every time you remembered their coffee, you were learning how to pay attention. Every time you saved their words, you were learning what mattered to you. Every time you waited, you were learning patience. Every time you chose silence, you were learning slowly what your voice was worth. You were not wasting those years. You were becoming someone who could finally speak. So, if you are still quiet today, that is alright. You do not have to say anything to anyone else. Not yet. Just say one thing to yourself. Say, I am here. I have been here all along, and I am not leaving. That is the end of today's episode. If something in this hour found you, if you needed to hear any of it, the book I wrote, the one I mentioned earlier, is called I Loved You Quietly Until I Learned to Love Myself. It is two voices, one arc, and it is for anyone who has ever loved without saying so. You will find the link in the description below. Wherever you are listening, if this episode meant something to you, the most helpful thing you can do is send it to one person, not many, just one, the one whose face came up while you were listening. They will know why you sent it. I will be back in next episode. Until then, take care of yourself this week, especially the quiet parts. This is Anurag Paul, and this was Life Talks with Anurag Paul.